The moment I found a hot pink bra wedged under the passenger seat of my wife's car, I felt my heartbeat stop. Not just stumble, stop. That bra was hers. I recognized the brand, the style, even the tiny lace detail near the clasp. She always wore that kind when she wanted to feel confident, which was usually code for, "You're not touching me tonight." And I knew it hadn't been there before. I didn't confront her. I didn't scream. I just smiled. Took the grocery bags into the kitchen, and nearly passed out from the nausea. She looked at me and said I looked like I'd seen a ghost. She wasn't wrong. Let me rewind. My name's Daniel, and in early 2021, I thought I had it pretty good. I'd been married to Zoe for almost 4 years. We met at a backyard 4th of July party back in 2015, thrown by mutual friends. She was magnetic, brilliant, beautiful, always the sharpest person in any room. I was a tech sales consultant, rugged in a blue-collar way, and somehow, she liked that. We fell hard and fast. Within 18 months we were married and saving up for our dream home in the suburbs of Asheville. Zoe worked in corporate finance and was killing it. Promotions, bonuses, power suits, the whole deal. I was proud of her, even as the late nights started piling up. At first it was once a week, then 3, then more. "Work dinners," she said. "Networking. Part of the grind." And I believed her. Things had changed between us, but I chalked it up to stress. We were still intimate, occasionally. Not like before. But I kept thinking we'd bounce back. I even cut down on my travel, hoping more time at home would help. That bra changed everything. 1 week later, I tried one last Hail Mary. Cooked a steak dinner, candles and wine. A romantic Friday night. She walked in, paused at the setup, and said, "That's sweet, babe, but I've got drinks with the team." She didn't even sit down. Said she needed a shower and maybe a snack before heading out again. I smiled, nodded. While she was in the bathroom, I slid my work phone under the passenger seat of her car. My heart was racing, but I needed to know. I needed proof. She left 30 minutes later in heels and lipstick. I waited until she was gone, then grabbed my backup phone and tracked hers. I followed her to a bar about 20 minutes away. I parked across the street and waited. She came out an hour later, with someone. A tall guy in a fitted blazer who looked exactly like every senior VP I'd ever met. They kissed. Right there on the sidewalk. She leaned into him like it was the most natural thing in the world. I followed them as they drove to a hotel just off I-26. They went inside, holding hands. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't eat. I just drove for hours, tears mixing with rage, shame, disbelief. I ended up 40 miles outside town in a roadside tavern, where the bartender asked if someone had died. "Yeah," I whispered. "Something like that." That's when I met Ray. Older guy, flannel shirt, cowboy boots, calm as a mountain lake. We talked. He'd been through it too. He said one thing that stuck with me. "You've got 2 paths now, son. One takes you deeper into hell. The other leads somewhere you've never been." He offered me an escape. A trailer on a quiet patch of land he owned near the Smoky foothills. Needed some fixing up, but it was private, peaceful, safe. And something in me cracked. Not in a broken way. In a free way. The next week, I started moving my stuff while Zoe was at work. Quiet. Precise. I didn't want confrontation. I just wanted out. Because the truth was simple. I didn't know who she was anymore. But I was finally starting to remember who I was. I didn't leave a mess. I didn't leave a scene. I left a note. I hope it was worth it. Next to it, my wedding band. Neatly placed. Almost clinical. She'd be back in a few days from that corporate retreat, in Tampa, or wherever her affair partner was taking her now. She'd find the apartment emptier. No warning. No dramatic confrontation. Just the silence of absence, the quiet aftermath of a man done begging to be seen. By the time she read the note, I was already 200 miles away, driving toward Ray's property with every box that mattered packed into my SUV. Clothes. Work gear. My guitar. Photos? Left behind. I didn't need reminders of who I thought she was. The drive was surreal. Like I was watching someone else's life collapse in the rearview mirror. Zoe's last text had been casual. Team dinner, long day, miss you. But now I knew the truth. She hadn't missed me. She had replaced me. My body felt hollow, but my mind had never been clearer. Ray met me at the gate with a thermos of coffee and a smirk that said he'd been there. He'd towed the trailer up to a quiet ridge that overlooked a patch of valley full of pines. The air smelled like cedar and clean starts. You don't have to figure it all out today, he said. Just breathe. And I did. For the first time in months. I spent the next week rebuilding more than the steps on that trailer. I scrubbed, I painted, I replaced weather stripping. The trailer became my chapel, my sanctuary. I bought a hammock and strung it between two trees. Every day after work, I ran the trails behind the property until my lungs burned and the noise in my head quieted. But inside, I was still boiling. She had lied. Gaslighted me. Played me like a fool while I begged for scraps of her attention. And the worst part? She was still pretending nothing had happened. She messaged me 4 days after I left. Hey babe, flight landed. Tampa was beautiful. Can't wait to see you. I didn't reply. 3 hours later. Dan? Where are you? Then, are you okay? And finally, we need to talk. This isn't funny. Funny? I laughed so hard I nearly choked on my sandwich. Her idea of a joke was watching our marriage rot while she snuck out 3 nights a week. I ignored her. And when the messages turned angry, you're being dramatic, you've lost it, where are you? I turned off my phone for good. But she didn't stop. 1 week later, I received an email. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to let it go that far. I was just overwhelmed. It meant nothing. Please, let's fix this. Nothing? I'd watched her enter a hotel with a guy. I knew exactly how much nothing cost, months of pretending, of missed dinners, of cold shoulders and dry lies. I didn't respond. I was rebuilding something she'd never understand, peace. But that's not all. One morning, Ray knocked on the trailer door holding a bundle of mail. You might want to see this, he said. It was from her attorney. She was filing for divorce. Good, I muttered. Let's make it official. I signed, sent it back, and felt lighter than I had in years. She wanted closure. I gave her a signature. That week, I ran 7 miles without stopping. By Friday, I slept through the night without waking up in a cold sweat. And Saturday? I met someone. She had a flat tire near the base of the trail. I offered to help. Her name was Kara, a forest ranger with eyes like rain and a laugh that sounded like wind chimes. She didn't ask about my past. She didn't try to fill the silence. She just handed me a wrench and said, "Let's fix this together." And for the first time, I thought maybe I could. When I was 16, I learned what it felt like to be forgotten. It was the first time I ever truly liked someone. Her name was Natalie. She used to sit behind me in history class, doodling roses in the margins of her notebook. We were friends, maybe something more, or at least I thought so. One day, she asked if I'd meet her at the bus stop after school, just the two of us, said she had something to tell me. I skipped track practice. Even put on cologne. I waited for 2 hours while the sky turned purple. She never showed. I found out later from a friend that she'd left with someone else. The quarterback. She forgot I existed. Didn't even think to cancel. That memory came back to me suddenly, sitting on my trailer porch one night, looking out at the stars and sipping cheap beer. The ache in my chest wasn't just about Zoe. It was about that same thread that had followed me all my life, being the guy who gets left behind, who always waits while someone else gets chosen. But this time, I wasn't waiting. I was building. Since the divorce papers had been signed, Zoe's texts had turned frantic, then resentful, then quiet. But something in me knew she wasn't done. There was a storm coming. A final chapter waiting to be written. I buried myself in new routines. Morning runs, fixing the leaky window in the trailer, helping Ray with fence repairs around the property. I even started sketching again, something I hadn't done since college. It felt honest. Like I was reintroducing myself to the version of me I'd forgotten in the chaos of marriage. And then there was Kara. She wasn't just a rebound. She was real. Grounded. She wore hiking boots and made her own granola. She didn't ask me to be anyone other than who I already was. Some days we talked for hours. Other days we didn't say much at all. It felt safe. Earned. But even then, I hadn't told her everything. I hadn't told her that Zoe had tracked me down. It happened last Thursday. I was working at the town library, using their free Wi-Fi to upload reports. I packed up around 5 p.m. and headed out, sun dipping behind the hills. That's when I heard it. Daniel! I froze. I knew the voice before I saw the face. Zoe. Standing across the street, wearing white shorts and a ponytail, just like she used to when we were dating. She crossed the street like she owned the pavement. I've been looking for you, she said, breathing hard, eyes shimmering like she might cry. Please. Just a conversation. I didn't speak. Something in me went cold. Like I'd stepped back into a nightmare and couldn't wake up. We sat on a bench near the co-op grocery. She went on about everything. How she regretted the affair, how she'd left her job, how her AP dumped her and got transferred. She cried, said she was lost without me, that she still loved me. I watched her lips move and felt absolutely nothing. She reached out to touch my hand. I pulled away. You think you can erase what you did? I asked, voice low. You think a tear-streaked apology brings back the man you broke? Her face twisted, wounded. I was scared. I made a mistake. Mistakes don't last 9 months and check into hotels, I said. And that's when she said it. I didn't know I loved you until you were gone. That line? It shook me. Because that's what I used to think about Natalie at the bus stop. Maybe she didn't know either. Maybe no one ever really sees you until you disappear. But that wasn't my problem anymore. I stood. Zoe begged me to stay, to talk more. Asked if she could see where I lived. I laughed. I built this life to get away from you. She stared, stunned. So that's it? No, I said. That's peace. I gave her my email, not my number, and walked away. No part of me looked back. When I got home, Kara was already there, grilling vegetables over a fire pit, smiling like it was just another perfect day. I sat next to her. She didn't ask where I'd been. She just handed me a plate and said, You look lighter. And I realized, for the first time in a long time, I was. She showed up at my door the next weekend. I should have known she'd find it eventually. Small towns don't keep secrets for long, especially when one of the bartenders at the local tavern happens to be the kind who loves sharing stories after a few tipsy laughs. I guess I wasn't as invisible here as I thought. Zoe stood outside the trailer in a yellow sundress, one I remembered from our honeymoon in Savannah. She looked like a memory I hadn't asked for. I opened the door but didn't invite her in. Her eyes scanned the space behind me. So this is it? She asked. Your new kingdom? No, I said flatly. This is where the pain ends. She tried to joke, something about it smelling like pine and masculinity, but I didn't bite. I stepped out, closed the door behind me, and crossed my arms. Why are you here? Her smile cracked. Because I can't stop thinking about you. About us. I know what I did, and I know it was selfish, but I want to fix this. You can't, I said. She stepped closer. At least let me explain. So I let her. She sat on a stump by the fire ring and poured it all out. How her AP dumped her the week after I left. How the company found out, and her entire department turned on her. How she moved back in with her sister, started therapy, and quit drinking. How she couldn't sleep because every corner of her life reminded her of what she'd thrown away. Every word was rehearsed, but that didn't mean it wasn't real. I could see that she meant it. But she was only telling the truth because she had nothing left to protect. I'm not angry anymore, I said quietly. That's what's dangerous. Her brows furrowed. Dangerous? I'm not angry. I'm not heartbroken. I'm free. She nodded slowly, tears forming. But can't we start again? Even just as friends? Friends? I chuckled. You betrayed your best friend. You cheated on your husband. You lied until you couldn't anymore. And now that you've lost everything, you're back, hoping for mercy? She sobbed. I didn't flinch. You made your choice, Zoe. That man, he wasn't a mistake. He was your priority. I was just your fallback. She stood suddenly. Do you think I don't hate myself every day for that? I don't care, I said. Not anymore. She stepped forward, voice trembling. Do you still love me? And there it was. The question. The trap. The reason she came. I stared at her for a long time. And then I told the truth. I love who you used to be. But that woman's gone. She gasped, like I'd slapped her. But she didn't deny it. She just nodded, finally understanding. Before she left, she placed the letter on the railing. Just in case. I didn't touch it for 3 days. When I finally opened it, it was full of longing. Childhood memories. Lists of songs we loved. Notes about our plans. Things she missed. Things she'd never have again. And a sentence that chilled me. I thought I was the strong one, but you're the only one who actually walked away. I folded the letter, placed it in a box of old receipts, and sealed the lid. The past belonged there now. That night, I went on a walk with Kara. She wore a hoodie with paint on the sleeve. We talked about absolutely nothing. But it felt like everything. And for the first time, I didn't feel like a man recovering from something broken. I felt like a man building something new. The last message came on a Thursday morning. I was packing for a business trip, 3 days in Colorado, a quiet hotel with a mountain view, and my phone buzzed with an email from Zoe. Subject line. Please read this. It wasn't long. Just a few paragraphs. But every word hit like a slow knife. She'd been offered a job in Oregon. Said it was the kind of position she used to dream about. New city, big promotion, a chance to reinvent herself. The twist? She wanted me to go with her. I know it's a long shot, Daniel, she wrote. But I still see a future with you. Maybe we can start over somewhere new, where no one knows what happened. I've changed. I'm ready to prove it. You said I used to be someone you loved. Let me become her again. She offered to fly out and spend the weekend together. One last try before I leave. I stared at the screen. My stomach didn't twist. My pulse didn't race. I just breathed. I walked outside and looked at the trailer I'd rebuilt by hand. The hammock swayed gently between the trees. The place smelled like sage and firewood. A hawk drifted over the valley in perfect silence. I typed back one sentence. I'm not coming. Then I powered down the phone, finished packing, and drove to the airport. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, I haven't heard from Zoe. I think she finally got it. That she couldn't show up with tears and charm and rewrite the ending. I had moved on. Not to someone else. Not to a new romance. But to myself. To peace. To a version of life where I'm not someone's plan B. Where I'm not waiting at a bench, wondering what I did wrong. Kara and I still talk. We hike. We laugh. We haven't labeled it. And we don't need to. She's not a replacement. She's a reminder. I can still be seen without being used. A few days ago, I opened Zoe's final letter again. Not to hurt myself, but to remember. She had written, if I could take it back, I would. And for the first time, I believed her. But you can't unburn a house. You can only decide whether you're going to rebuild on the same ashes or start somewhere new. I chose the ridge. The pine trees. The silence. I chose me. And that made all the difference.